I never thought the person who would try to destroy me would be someone who smiled at me across the Thanksgiving table, someone who hugged me at family gatherings, someone who called me daughter. But that Thursday evening, when I caught my mother-in-law crushing pills into my iced tea while humming softly to herself, I realized that evil doesn't always announce itself with a snarl. Sometimes it comes wearing pearls and offering you a glass of something cold to drink. My name is Linda, and I'm 47 years old. I've been married to my husband Robert for 23 years. We live in a small town in Georgia where everybody knows everybody, and family is supposed to mean everything. Robert and I built what I thought was a good life together. We raised 2 sons, both grown now and living their own lives. We had a comfortable home, stable jobs, and what I believed was a strong foundation of love and trust. Robert's always been a devoted son. His father passed away when Robert was just 19, right before we got married, so his mother Gloria raised him mostly on her own. She worked 2 jobs to put him through college, sacrificed everything for him, and never let him forget it. Not for a single day of our marriage. Now don't get me wrong, I understood that bond. I respected it. In the beginning, I even admired it. Here was a man who honored his mother, who made sure she was taken care of, who called her every Sunday without fail. What woman wouldn't want a husband like that? What woman wouldn't feel secure knowing her man understood the meaning of loyalty and commitment? But somewhere along the way, that devotion turned into something else. Something darker. Something that made me feel like I was competing for my own husband's attention and losing. Gloria was 68 years old, sharp as a tack, and strong as an ox. She didn't need taking care of, but she sure did enjoy being catered to. After Robert's father died, she never remarried, never even dated as far as I knew. She poured everything into Robert, and when he married me, I don't think she ever quite forgave him for it. First it was subtle. Little comments here and there. "Oh Linda, you're serving pot roast?" Robert's never been fond of pot roast. I always made him chicken on Thursdays. Or "That's an interesting way to fold towels, dear." I taught Robert the proper way when he was just a boy. Everything I did was wrong or not quite right or just a little bit off from how she would have done it. Robert would laugh it off. "That's just Mom being Mom." He'd say, "Kissing my forehead like that somehow made it okay. She doesn't mean anything by it." But she did mean something by it. She meant to let me know that I would never measure up, that I would never be good enough for her son, that my place in his life was temporary but hers was forever. The years passed and it got worse. Gloria started calling at all hours, claiming she needed help with something or other. A leaky faucet at 9 at night. A strange noise in her attic at 6 in the morning. A spider in her bathtub. Robert would drop everything and run over there, leaving me mid-conversation, mid-dinner, mid-everything. "She's my mother, Linda," he'd say when I tried to talk to him about boundaries. "She's all alone in that house. What kind of son would I be if I didn't help her?" I wanted to scream that what kind of husband was he being, but I didn't. I swallowed my frustration and my hurt and told myself that this was just part of loving Robert, part of the package deal. Then Gloria started inviting herself over. She'd show up unannounced on Saturday mornings when Robert and I were trying to have our coffee together in peace. She'd walk right in with her spare key, the one Robert had given her for emergencies, and start rearranging my kitchen cabinets because everything was in the wrong place. When I asked Robert to get the key back, he looked at me like I'd suggested we abandon his mother on a street corner. "She might need to get in if there's an emergency," he said. "What if something happens to us and she needs to check on the house? Then she can call the police like a normal person," I said, trying to keep my voice calm. "Robert, I need to feel like this is our home, not a place your mother has unlimited access to." That was the first time he raised his voice at me. "You're being selfish, Linda. She's family. This is a family home. Or are you saying my mother isn't family?" Of course that wasn't what I was saying, but somehow Gloria always managed to twist things around so that any boundary I tried to set made me look like the villain. And Robert always took her side. Our sons noticed it too. Jason, our oldest, pulled me aside one Christmas and said, "Mom, why do you let Grandma treat you like that?" I didn't have a good answer for him. What was I supposed to say? That his father had made a choice long ago about whose feelings mattered more. And it wasn't mine? The real trouble started about 6 months ago. I was diagnosed with high blood pressure. Nothing too serious, the doctor said, just something to keep an eye on and manage with medication and lifestyle changes. I told Robert about it that evening over dinner, expecting sympathy, maybe some concern. Instead, he called Gloria immediately. I sat there listening to him tell his mother about my health issues, sharing my private medical information like it was public news. And then I heard him say, "Maybe you should come stay with us for a while, Mom. Help Linda get her health back on track." I felt my blood pressure spike right then and there. "Absolutely not," I said when he hung up. "Robert, I'm not an invalid. I have high blood pressure, not terminal cancer. I don't need your mother moving in to take care of me. She's just trying to help," he said, that familiar defensive tone creeping into his voice. "She's worried about you." "She's not worried about me. She's looking for an excuse to move in and take over my life completely." Robert's face went cold. "You really think that poorly of my mother? The woman who raised me, who sacrificed everything for me. I think she's never accepted that you have a wife, and she sees my health issue as an opportunity." We didn't speak for 2 days after that argument. But Gloria didn't move in, at least not officially. She just started showing up more often, always with some excuse. She'd bring groceries, saying she wanted to make sure I was eating healthy. She'd offer to do laundry, claiming I needed to rest. She'd rearrange my prescription bottles, saying she was organizing them for me. And that's when I started feeling strange. It started with drowsiness in the afternoons. I'd come home from my job at the library feeling exhausted, barely able to keep my eyes open. I chalked it up to the blood pressure medication at first, or maybe just stress. But then I started having dizzy spells. Memory gaps. Times when I'd find myself in a room with no recollection of why I'd gone there. I went back to the doctor. They ran tests, adjusted my medication, suggested I might be experiencing early menopause symptoms or stress-related issues. Nothing conclusive. Nothing that explained why I felt like I was losing my mind. Robert noticed, of course. And he told Gloria. And Gloria became even more present in our lives, always there, always watching, always offering to help in ways that somehow made me feel more helpless. "You're not yourself lately, Linda," she'd say with false concern dripping from every word. "Maybe you should consider taking a leave from work. All that stress isn't good for your condition." "I'm fine," I'd insist, even though I didn't feel fine at all. "Robert, your wife is struggling," Gloria would say, turning to him like I wasn't even in the room. "She needs someone to take care of her properly. Maybe I should move into the guest room for a while." "That's not necessary," I'd say, but my voice sounded weak even to my own ears. The worst part was that Robert was starting to look at me differently. With concern, yes, but also with something else. Doubt, maybe. Or pity. Like he was starting to believe I really was falling apart. That I really did need his mother's help. That I really was becoming incapable of taking care of myself. I started to wonder if I was losing my mind. The symptoms were real. The drowsiness, the confusion, the gaps in my memory. Maybe I really was falling apart. Maybe Gloria's concerns were legitimate. Maybe I was just being paranoid and defensive because I'd never liked her very much. But then came that Thursday evening 3 weeks ago. The evening that changed everything. Gloria had called that morning saying she wanted to come over and make dinner for us. "Just a nice family meal," she'd said. "I have a new recipe I want to try, and you need a proper home-cooked meal, Linda. You're looking so thin and tired lately." Robert had accepted before I could even protest. When I got home from work that evening, Gloria was already in my kitchen, already cooking, already making herself at home. The smell of roasted chicken filled the house, and I had to admit it smelled good. "Go rest, dear," Gloria said when she saw me. "You look exhausted. I'll call you when dinner's ready." I was exhausted. That bone-deep, can't keep your eyes open kind of tired that had become my normal state. So I went to lie down on the couch in the living room, telling myself I'd just close my eyes for a few minutes. I must have dozed off because the next thing I knew, Gloria was shaking my shoulder gently. "Linda dear, dinner's ready. Why don't you come to the table?" I dragged myself up, my head feeling fuzzy and heavy. Robert was already seated at the dining room table, and Gloria had laid out a beautiful meal. Roasted chicken, mashed potatoes, green beans, fresh rolls. It looked like something from a magazine. "This looks wonderful, Mom," Robert said, smiling at his mother with genuine warmth. "Well, someone has to make sure you're properly fed," Gloria said. shooting me a look that was probably supposed to be subtle but felt like a knife between the ribs. We sat down to eat and I had to admit the food was delicious. Gloria might have been terrible in every other way, but the woman could cook. We made small talk, or rather Robert and Gloria made small talk while I pushed food around my plate, still feeling oddly tired despite my nap. After dinner, Gloria stood up and started clearing dishes. "Robert, honey, why don't you go watch your game? I'll clean up and fix you two some nice iced tea. It's decaf, Linda, so don't worry about it keeping you up." Robert retreated to the living room, and I started to help with the dishes, but Gloria shooed me away. "Go sit down, dear. You need to rest. I'll bring the tea out in just a moment." Something in her tone made me uneasy, but I couldn't put my finger on why. I went to sit in the living room with Robert, who was already absorbed in some basketball game on television. A few minutes later, Gloria appeared with a tray holding 3 tall glasses of iced tea, each garnished with a sprig of mint. "Here we are," she said cheerfully, setting the tray on the coffee table. She handed 1 glass to Robert, kept 1 for herself, and held the 3rd one out to me. But she didn't hand it to me right away. She held it just out of reach for a moment, looking at me with an expression I couldn't quite read. Then she smiled and said, "This one's special. I made it just for you, Linda. It'll help you feel better." Every instinct I had suddenly screamed at me not to take that glass. But what was I supposed to do? Refuse it and look like I was being paranoid and difficult in front of Robert? So I took the glass, thanked her, and set it on the side table next to me. Gloria sat down in the armchair across from us, sipping her own tea and watching me over the rim of her glass. "Drink up, Linda. It's good for you." "I will in a minute," I said. "It's still too cold. I want to let it warm up a bit." That was a lie. The tea was perfectly fine. But something was stopping me from drinking it, some primitive warning system in my brain telling me not to put that liquid in my body. Gloria's smile tightened. "Don't let it get warm, dear. Iced tea is supposed to be cold." "I just need a minute," I said, my heart starting to pound. We sat there in an increasingly uncomfortable silence. Gloria watching me avoiding her gaze, Robert oblivious to everything except the game on TV. Then Robert's phone rang, and he got up to take the call in the other room. Some work emergency that required his immediate attention. The moment he left, Gloria's entire demeanor changed. The fake sweetness dropped away, and she leaned forward with cold eyes. "Drink your tea, Linda. I'm not thirsty right now." I said, "Drink your tea." Her voice was low and dangerous, nothing like the sugary grandmother tone she used around Robert. "What did you put in it?" The question came out before I could stop it. Gloria's face went absolutely still. For a long moment we just stared at each other. And in that moment, I saw the truth written all over her face. Guilt. Rage. Calculation. "I don't know what you're talking about," she finally said, but her voice wavered just slightly. "Yes, you do. What did you put in my tea, Gloria?" She stood up abruptly. "You're being ridiculous. Paranoid. Maybe you need to see a doctor about your mental health, not just your blood pressure." She walked toward the kitchen, and without thinking I followed her. I don't know what I thought I was going to do, confront her maybe, demand answers. But what I saw when I reached the kitchen doorway stopped me cold. Gloria was standing at the counter, and in her hand was a small pill bottle. She was looking down at it with an expression of frustration, and as I watched, frozen in the doorway, she opened it and shook a few pills into her palm. Then she looked up and saw me watching. We stared at each other across my kitchen, and in that moment, everything became crystal clear. The drowsiness, the confusion, the memory gaps. It wasn't my medication. It wasn't stress. It wasn't early menopause. It was her. She'd been drugging me. Slowly, systematically, every time she came over, every time she prepared food or drinks. She'd been poisoning me, making me sick, making me seem unstable. Also, she could swoop in and prove that Robert needed her more than he needed me. "You've been putting those in my food," I whispered. "How long? How long have you been doing this to me?" Gloria's face transformed into something ugly and hateful. "You don't deserve him," she hissed. "You never did. He was supposed to take care of me, to be there for me, but you came along and stole him away. Well, I'm taking him back. Once everyone sees how sick you are, how incapable, he'll realize he made a mistake marrying you." My hands were shaking. My whole body was shaking. You could have killed me. Oh please, she scoffed. It's just a few sleeping pills here and there. Maybe some anti-anxiety medication mixed in. Nothing fatal. Just enough to make you seem unreliable. Confused. Unable to take care of yourself or my son. Robert will never believe this, I said, but even as I said it, I knew it was true. He'd never believe his precious mother would do something like this. He'd think I was making it up, being paranoid, letting my dislike of Gloria cloud my judgment. Gloria smiled, that same cold, calculating smile. No, he won't. Who's he going to believe? His mother who's loved him his whole life? Or his mentally unstable wife who's clearly suffering from some kind of breakdown? She moved past me back toward the living room, dropping the pill bottle into her purse as she went. I stood there in the kitchen, my mind racing, trying to figure out what to do. I could confront Robert right now, tell him what I'd seen, what she'd admitted. But without proof, without witnesses, it would be my word against hers. And I knew whose word he'd believe. I heard Gloria call out sweetly, "Robert, honey, I'm going to head home. You take care of Linda now. She's not looking well at all." I heard Robert's voice responding, heard the front door open and close, heard his footsteps coming toward the kitchen. He appeared in the doorway, looking concerned. "Hey, are you okay? Mom said you seemed really out of it tonight." I opened my mouth to tell him everything, but the words died in my throat. What would I say? Your mother just admitted she's been drugging me for months? Here's my evidence. Absolutely nothing except my own word? I'm just tired, I said instead. I think I'll go to bed early. That night, lying awake next to my sleeping husband, I made a decision. If Gloria wanted to play games, I'd play games. But I'd play to win. Because I wasn't going to let her destroy me, destroy my marriage, destroy my life. She'd made a mistake in telling me her plan, in letting me see the truth. Now I just needed to prove it. The next day I called in sick to work. I wasn't really sick, at least not in the way my boss thought, but I needed time to think. Time to plan. Gloria had been systematically poisoning me for months, making me seem unstable and incompetent. And I needed to figure out how to expose her without looking like I was having a paranoid breakdown. I spent that morning going through everything in our house with fresh eyes. I checked every food item, every drink in the refrigerator, anything Gloria might have had access to. I found nothing obvious, but then again I wasn't sure what I was looking for. She'd been smart about it, using pills that could be easily crushed and hidden, varying the dosage enough that I'd think it was just stress or medication side effects. I thought about going to the police, but what would I tell them? I had no evidence. Just a story about my mother-in-law admitting she'd been drugging me. With no witnesses and no physical proof, they'd probably think I was having a mental health crisis, which would just play right into Gloria's hands. I thought about secretly recording her, trying to get her to confess again. But Georgia is a two-party consent state for recordings, which meant anything I recorded without her knowledge wouldn't be admissible in court, and might even get me in legal trouble. I needed to catch her in the act. I needed undeniable proof that even Robert couldn't dismiss or explain away. Gloria called that afternoon, her voice dripping with false sweetness. "Linda dear, I wanted to check on you. Robert mentioned you seemed unwell last night. Are you feeling any better?" "I'm fine, Gloria. Thank you for asking. Well, I was thinking I might come by tomorrow with some homemade soup. You need to keep your strength up." Every cell in my body screamed no, but I forced myself to sound normal. "That's very thoughtful of you. It's no trouble at all, dear. That's what family is for." Family. The word felt like poison on her tongue, just like the actual poison she'd been feeding me. After I hung up, I went to the drugstore and bought a home drug testing kit. They're meant for parents who suspect their teenagers of using drugs. But they work just as well for detecting medication that shouldn't be in your system. I also bought a tiny camera, the kind people use as nanny cams. It was expensive, but I didn't care. I needed evidence. That evening, when Robert got home from work, I was waiting for him. "We need to talk," I said. He looked immediately wary. "About what?" "About your mother. About boundaries. About our marriage." He sighed, that long-suffering sigh that meant he thought I was being unreasonable again. "Linda, not this again. Can't we just have one evening without you attacking my mother?" "I'm not attacking her. I'm asking you to set some basic boundaries. She has too much access to our lives, to our home. It's not healthy. She's lonely, Linda. She's my mother. I'm not going to cut her off just because you're. He trailed off, but I knew what he wasn't saying. Just because you're jealous. Just because you're difficult. Just because you're not her. Because I'm what, Robert? I asked quietly. He had the grace to look uncomfortable. Because you've never really gotten along with her. I get it. Not everyone clicks. But she's still my mother, and I won't have you trying to push her out of my life. I'm not trying to push her out of your life. I'm trying to save our marriage. But you're so busy protecting her that you can't see what's right in front of you. And what's that supposed to mean? I wanted to tell him. God, how I wanted to tell him everything. But I knew he wouldn't believe me. Not yet. So instead I said, it means that someday you're going to have to choose, Robert. And I hope you choose wisely. I walked away before he could respond, before I could say something I'd regret, before I could break down and cry from the sheer frustration of loving a man who would never put me first. The next day I set my trap. I positioned the tiny camera on a bookshelf in the kitchen, angled so it would capture the counter where Gloria always prepared her special drinks and dishes. I made sure it was recording and then went about my normal morning routine. Gloria arrived around lunchtime, her arms full of grocery bags. I brought everything I need for my famous chicken noodle soup, she announced, letting herself in with her key. It'll fix you right up, Linda. That's very kind of you, I said, watching her carefully as she bustled into the kitchen. Why don't you go rest while I cook? She suggested. You look exhausted again. Are you still having trouble sleeping? A little, I admitted, which was true. I'd been lying awake every night thinking about what she'd done, planning my next move. Well, this soup will help. I'm putting some special ingredients in it just for you. I'll bet you are, I thought. I retreated to the living room but positioned myself where I could partially see into the kitchen. I watched Gloria work, humming to herself as she chopped vegetables and prepared the soup. Everything seemed normal at first. But then when she thought I wasn't looking, she reached into her purse and pulled out a pill bottle. My heart started racing as I watched her glance toward the living room, check to make sure I wasn't watching, and then shake several pills into her palm. She crushed them with the back of a spoon right there on my kitchen counter, then stirred the powder into a bowl of soup. My bowl of soup. She was humming while she did it, completely casual, like poisoning her daughter-in-law was just another step in the recipe. I felt sick watching her, but I stayed where I was, letting the camera capture everything. After a few minutes she called out, "Lunch is ready, dear. Come and eat while it's hot." I walked into the kitchen on shaking legs. Gloria had set out 2 bowls of soup, along with crackers and iced tea. She smiled at me warmly and gestured to one of the bowls. "This one's yours. I made it extra hearty, just the way you need it." I looked at that bowl of soup, knowing what was in it, and felt rage bubble up inside me. But I kept my face calm. "Thank you, Gloria. This smells delicious." We sat down at the kitchen table, and Gloria watched me expectantly. "Well, go ahead. Try it." I picked up my spoon, stirred the soup slowly. "You know what, Gloria? I'm not actually very hungry right now. Would you mind if I save this for later?" Her smile faltered. "Oh, but Linda, soup is best when it's fresh. And you need to eat. You're wasting away." "I'm really not hungry," I insisted. "Nonsense. Just a few bites. For me." The pressure in her voice was unmistakable. She needed me to eat that soup. Needed me drugged and docile and confused so she could continue her little game. I said, "I'm not hungry, Gloria." Her mask slipped just slightly, and I saw anger flash across her face. "After I went to all this trouble to make you something healthy, you can't even take a few bites? That's incredibly rude, Linda." "You know what's rude?" I said, my voice shaking but strong. "Putting crushed up pills in someone's food." Gloria's face went white. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Yes, you do. I saw you. Just now I watched you crush pills and stir them into my soup. You're imagining things. This is exactly what I've been worried about. You're becoming paranoid, unstable. Robert needs to know about this. Go ahead and tell him. While you're at it, explain to him what's on the camera that's been recording this entire conversation." The color drained completely from Gloria's face. "You're bluffing." "Am I?" I pulled out my phone and pulled up the camera's live feed. turning it so she could see herself sitting at my kitchen table, clear as day. That camera has been recording since before you arrived. Captured you taking pills from your purse. Captured you crushing them. It captured you stirring them into my soup. It captured everything. Gloria stood up so fast her chair fell backward with a crash. You've got no right to record me without my permission. That's illegal. Actually, in my own home, I have every right to record what happens in my kitchen. Especially when someone is committing a crime in it. You know what is illegal? Poisoning someone. That's assault. That's attempted murder, depending on what you've been giving me. It's not poison, she hissed. It's just medication. Just something to help you relax to sleep better. You've been so stressed. I've been stressed because you've been drugging me for months. Making me think I was losing my mind, making Robert think I was falling apart. Also, you could what? Play nursemaid? Take over my life? Get your son back. He's my son. Gloria's voice rose to a screech. Mine. I raised him alone, I sacrificed everything for him, and then you came along and stole him from me. You don't deserve him. You never did. He should be taking care of me, not you. I should be his priority, not you. So you decided to destroy me? To poison me? I was just trying to show him what a mistake he made. Show him that you can't take care of him, that you're weak and unreliable. He needs me, not you. He's always needed me. You're insane, I whispered. No, Gloria said coldly. I'm a mother protecting her child from a woman who's not good enough for him. I'm calling the police, I said, reaching for my phone. Gloria moved faster than I would have thought possible for a woman her age. She lunged at me, grabbing for my phone. We struggled, and she was surprisingly strong, fueled by desperation and rage. The phone clattered to the floor, and she shoved me hard against the counter. You're not calling anyone, she snarled, her face inches from mine, all pretense of sweetness gone. You're going to delete that video and you're going to keep your mouth shut, or I will make your life a living hell. I will turn Robert against you completely. I will make sure everyone in this town knows you're having a mental breakdown. I will. You'll what, Mom? We both froze. Robert was standing in the kitchen doorway, home early from work, his face white with shock. He'd seen everything. Heard everything. Robert, Gloria said, instantly switching back to her sweet grandmother voice. Thank goodness you're home. Linda's having some kind of episode. She attacked me. I was just trying to help her, and she... I heard what you said, Robert interrupted, his voice hollow. I heard you admit to drugging Linda. I heard you say you've been doing it for months. No, you misunderstood. I was just... I heard you, Mom. Every word. Gloria's face crumpled. She reached for him, but he stepped back. Robert, baby, please. You have to understand. I was only trying to protect you. She's not right for you. She never was. I was just trying to make you see. See what? That my wife was falling apart? That she needed you more than me? You made her sick, Mom. You poisoned her. You made me doubt her, question her, think she was losing her mind. How could you do that? Tears were streaming down Gloria's face now, but they looked more like tears of frustration than remorse. Because she took you from me. After your father died, you were all I had. You were supposed to take care of me, to be there for me. But she came along and suddenly I was second place. Second place to someone who doesn't even appreciate you the way I do. Linda is my wife, Robert said, his voice shaking. My partner. The mother of my children. And you tried to destroy her. I'm your mother. And you've been poisoning my wife. He pulled out his own phone. I'm calling the police. No. Gloria lunged for him, but Robert held firm. You can't do this to me. I'm your mother. After everything I've done for you, everything I've sacrificed. You've gone too far, Mom. Way too far. The police arrived 20 minutes later. I showed them the video. I told them everything. The months of unexplained symptoms, catching Gloria in the act, her confession. Robert backed me up, confirming what he'd heard when he came home. They asked Gloria for the pill bottle. After initially refusing, she finally produced it from her purse. It was a prescription for lorazepam, an anti-anxiety medication, in her name. She admitted she'd been crushing the pills and putting them in my food and drinks for the past 4 months. Gloria was arrested that evening. As the officers led her out in handcuffs, she looked at Robert with such betrayal and hatred that it made my blood run cold. "You're choosing her over me?" she asked. "Your own mother? You chose this, Mom," Robert said quietly. "Not me." After they left, Robert and I sat in stunned silence in our living room. The soup was still sitting on the kitchen table, evidence of how close I'd come to being drugged again. How many times had I eaten or drunk something she'd prepared? How much medication had I unknowingly ingested? "I'm so sorry," Robert finally said, his voice breaking. "God, Linda, I'm so sorry. I should have believed you. I should have listened when you tried to tell me something was wrong. I should have protected you." I wanted to be angry at him. Part of me was angry at him, but mostly I was just exhausted. You couldn't have known it would go this far. I should have seen it, though. The way she treated you, the way she tried to undermine you at every turn. I just kept making excuses for her, kept choosing her feelings over yours, and she used that. She knew I'd always pick her side, so she thought she could get away with anything. "What happens now?" I asked. "Now we heal," he said, taking my hand. "We set boundaries that should have been set years ago. And I make sure you know every single day that you're my priority. Not her. You." Gloria was charged with assault and battery, unlawful administration of a controlled substance, and several other charges. She pleaded guilty in exchange for a reduced sentence, 3 years in prison followed by probation and mandatory counseling. The judge called her actions a profound betrayal of family trust and a dangerous abuse of access to the victim's home. Our family fractured in ways that are still healing. Our sons were devastated, angry at both their grandmother for what she'd done and at their father for enabling her for so long. We all started therapy, individual and family counseling, to work through the trauma. Robert and I are still together. Our marriage is stronger now than it's been in years, because he finally understands that sometimes love means protecting your partner from everyone, even your own mother. He goes to visit Gloria in prison occasionally, but I don't. I've forgiven her for my own peace of mind, but I'll never forget what she did or trust her again. The symptoms I'd been experiencing cleared up within a few weeks once Gloria was no longer in our lives. It was both a relief and a horror to realize just how long she'd been poisoning me, how much of my suffering had been deliberately caused by someone who was supposed to be family. Looking back, I can see all the warning signs I missed or dismissed. The possessiveness disguised as maternal love. The inability to accept that her son had built a life separate from her. The slow escalation from passive-aggressive comments to active sabotage. By the time she was literally poisoning me, she'd already been poisoning my marriage for years. If there's a lesson in all this, it's that toxic people don't always look toxic. Sometimes they look like sweet little old ladies who bake you soup and call you dear. Sometimes the most dangerous person in your life is someone everyone else thinks is wonderful. And sometimes protecting yourself means being willing to look paranoid, difficult, or unforgiving in other people's eyes. Gloria will be released in about 2 years. We've already discussed as a family what boundaries we'll need when she gets out. Robert has promised me she'll never have unsupervised access to our home again, that she'll never be alone with me again, that my safety and well-being will always come first. I believe him, but I also know that I'll be watching, always watching, because I learned the hard way that you can't trust someone just because they're family. Trust has to be earned, and Gloria forfeited that right when she decided that crushing pills into my food was an acceptable way to deal with her jealousy. My name is Linda, and I survived being poisoned by my mother-in-law. More than that, I survived having my reality questioned, my sanity doubted, and my marriage tested. I survived, and I'm stronger for it. I know my worth now. I know I deserve to be believed, to be protected, to be put first by my husband. And I know that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is trust yourself, even when everyone else thinks you're wrong. Especially then. If this story touched your heart, if it made you think about your own relationships and boundaries, if it reminded you that you deserve to be safe in your own home with your own family, please don't forget to subscribe for more powerful stories like this. And remember, you are worth protecting. Your truth is worth fighting for. And no one, not even family, has the right to make you doubt your own reality. Stay strong, stay safe, and trust your instincts. They might just save your life.